All right, Mr. Vice President, welcome. Always good to have you.
That's good to see you again, Neil.
We're getting word that by May 28th, up to potentially 2,000 pictures are going to be released by the White House showing various interrogation methods. Up to 2,000. What do you think of that?
Well, I guess what I think is important is that there be some balance to what's being released. The fact of the matter is the administration appears to be committed to putting out information that sort of favors their point of view in terms of being opposed to, for example, enhanced interrogation techniques, but so far they've refused to put out memos that were done by the CIA that I've requested be declassified that show the positive results of the detainee program and all of the information and the intelligence we were able to garner from these high-value detainees.
And you say there are at least 2 such CIA memos that point to...
2 specifically that I requested.
To the enhanced interrogation, and that it did yield results.
Yeah, well, that specifically talked about detainees and about the contributions that we got to our overall intelligence picture. Now, publicly, General Hayden, who used to be director of the CIA, said as late as 2006, a majority of the intelligence we'd gotten about al-Qaeda came from detainees, from high-value targets like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, like Abu Zubaydah, people that we captured during the course of our campaign against al-Qaeda. And they, of course, were obviously also the people that the debates focused on in respect to enhanced interrogation techniques.
Have you spoken to anyone in the White House lately about this? Did they give you a heads up we're going to release all of these interrogations?
What I did was make a formal request for declassification through the National Archives, which is the way you do it, and then it goes out to the agency responsible, in this case the CIA, and I'm still awaiting a formal answer from them.
Your daughter Liz was on a rival news network this morning.
She was.
And she made the comment that the White House should have called my dad. I'm paraphrasing here, Mr. Vice President. But it was clearly, the inference was that that did not happen. What happened? When this whole dust-up started happening on interrogation and then eliminating waterboarding, did anyone from the White House give you or President Bush a heads up that this policy was about to be reversed?
Well, I didn't discuss it with anybody in the administration, but I'm not offended by that. And they campaigned all across the country, from one end of the country to the other, against enhanced interrogation techniques, and made it very clear they were opposed to that. They called it torture. I don't believe it was torture. We had attorneys who gave us clear guidance as to what was appropriate and what wasn't. The reason we've gotten into this debate at all is because the administration saw fit to go back and release OLC opinions out of the Office of Legal Counsel and the Justice Department dealing with this classified program. Now, that's a very rare occurrence. You don't ordinarily release those opinions, especially when it deals with a classified program. They did it in a way that sort of has blocked so far any real discussion of the results of the program and instead focused upon the techniques themselves. And they really began the debate then with the suggestions that perhaps people should be prosecuted for having participated in the program, or the lawyers who gave us these opinions should be disbarred. I think it's an outrage. I think the proposition that a new administration can come in and in effect launch an attack on their predecessor because they disagreed with the legal advice that was given by the Justice Department, or because they find that they don't like policies that were pursued by the prior administration. It's one thing to come in and change the policy. It's an entirely different proposition to come in and say that you're somehow going to go after the lawyers in the Justice Department or the agents who carried out that policy. I think that's outrageous, and that's why I've spoken out as I have to defend the policy. And
but you have, but President Bush has not. And that, to your critics, is a sign of his statesmanship and your lack of it. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't pay a lot of attention to what the critics say, obviously. From my standpoint, the notion that I should remain silent while they go public, that I shouldn't say anything while they threaten to disbar the lawyers who gave us the advice that was crucial in terms of this program, that I shouldn't say anything when they go out and release information that they believe is critical of the program and critical of our policies, but refuse to put out information that shows the results that we're able to achieve. Bottom line is we successfully defended the nation for 7.5 years against a follow-on attack to 9/11. That was a remarkable achievement. Nobody would have thought that was possible, but it was. I believe it was possible because of the policies we had in place, which they're now dismantling.
So by that definition, are we more likely to be attacked now? Is that what you're saying?
I think that we are stripping ourselves of some of the capabilities that we used in order to block, if you will, or disrupt activities by Al-Qaeda that would have led to additional attacks. I think that's an important debate to have. I don't think we should just roll over when the new administration accuses us of committing torture, which we did not, or somehow violating the law, which we did not. I think you need to stand up and respond to that, and that's what I've done.
Have you raised this with President Bush? Have you talked with him and said, look, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be talking to Fox, I'm going to be talking to him, I'm going to let the world know how I feel?
He and I have had a number of conversations on the telephone since January 20th.
Any recently?
Those are, it's been a couple of weeks, but we're...
How are those conversations? What are you talking about?
Well, those were private when we were in the White House, and they remain so today.
So you're not going to tell me?
No.
Okay, fine. All right, we're getting words out of the Jerusalem Post, Mr. Vice President, that Iran has deployed mobile ground-to-air and ground-to-sea missiles along the Strait of Hormuz and perhaps beyond in the Persian Gulf. How bad is this getting?
Well, I haven't seen the reports. I think it's important to be aware of or recognize that the Straits of Hormuz obviously are a key waterway, not just from the standpoint of the United States, but that these numbers are rough, but about 20% of the world's oil supply passes through those straits every day. There's some close to 18, 19 million barrels that come out of the Gulf, come out of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, and so forth. That's the major export route, if you will. And so anything that potentially threatens the free flow of that traffic obviously would be of concern.
But what they're obviously doing, though, is saying, you attack us, I mean, we respond in spades, and then the whole world is dealing with $100, $200 barrel oil, right?
Well, I don't know what they're doing, obviously. I can't speak for what the Iranians are up to. They're difficult enough to follow when you're talking to them, and we're not talking to them and haven't for a long time. But I do think...
well, we are making overtures to them, right? This president is trying, and that the time for that type of behavior, as well as opening up more to folks like Hugo Chavez and all, the time is now for that, because we got nowhere, this administration says, doing what you did, which was effectively to isolate these guys. What do you make of that?
The Iranians have a track record. We tried to resolve the issue diplomatically. We worked with our European friends and allies. We tried to persuade them that they did not need to enrich uranium to weapons grade, that the Russians, for example, were prepared to sell them fuel for their reactor and then take the spent fuel back after the fuel had been used. There are a lot of ways for them to acquire nuclear power generating capabilities without producing weapons. They clearly seem to be in the business of wanting to produce weapons. We were unable to talk them out of it previously, and there was a very serious effort diplomatically working through the United Nations and with the EU3, the way we refer to the British and the Germans and the French. The fact is that, as far as we know, they're still in the business of trying to produce that capability, and that would be a fundamental threat, not only to the folks in the immediate region, but potentially others around the world, including the United States. They're working on missile technology, and if they can marry up a weapon with the missile, then they become a formidable power.
President Obama is going to be in Egypt next month as a Middle East tour, in which he will use that nation as an address to the Muslim world. He is not stopping by Israel when he is in the neighborhood, so to speak. What do you make of that? I
don't know that it has any significance. Obviously, I haven't been part of scheduling for the new administration, so I don't know what considerations go into that, but I don't think I can attribute motives one way or the other.
So to Israelis who are concerned that maybe this administration, again, with the best of interest for the whole region at heart, is more inclined to engage Muslim nations, maybe even some radical nations, it's giving some Israelis pause. Should it?
Well, I think it's giving not only Israelis pause, it's also, excuse me, creating